get yourself off the screen. You want to contribute? You're on equalization. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This fund is supposed to reach every corner of the country where there is need, especially a place where it is semi-arid and arid, and places that receive floods. They deserve a lot of keenness to be supported all the time, because everybody here was born in a place. And if you were born in eastern, northeastern, northern part of Kenya, or Budalangi, or the semi-arids in Kenya, you did not apply for God to get you there. So all the places that deserve to get attention should be well funded adequately, yearly, with an intention to make that area attractive, like desert areas that we visit in Middle East. Otherwise, I don't think there's anybody who would love to be described as poor, severely poor, and always needy anywhere in this world. People have their own dignities out there, even if they lack now. If their situation or standards of living is improved, then they will also just not be waiting to be helped or be called or described as beggars. So this equalization fund, I support that it should in fact be increased, but wherever that fund touches, it should be progressive, yes, but we must see that actually a town, health centers, institutions like schools, just good roads that attract investors are constructed. Many investors are not attracted to places where there is poor infrastructure, and also where even getting a health facility that has real medicine is missing. So we need to make these places more attractive, better.
Hold on a minute. There's a point of order. Honorable Basil.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I do want to interrupt my sister, Honorable Omanyo, but after checking on how she's dressed today, Madam Speaker, I don't think Honorable Omanyo has dressed within the parliamentary requirements. So I think that is inappropriate dressing. Thank you.
Proceed, Honorable Omaya.
My style of dressing is adequate. If you define properly well-dressed woman, look at me. I have a shirt that is well ironed, a windbreaker just in case of the cold, and a trouser that is good. It's fitting me. I have no problem if he wants to emulate my unique elements that are expressing my individuality. You should talk to me nicely to teach you how to dress. Yes, my dress, my choice.
Yeah. Honorable Doyan.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. For Honorable Basil to say that Honorable Catherine, she's not properly dressed, he should tell us if he's used to with yellow color, so that, because we have very important things, Madam Speaker, to discuss, only to point out to a gorgeous white in color, you know, the best color that most people don't want to have in their closet. Next time, Madam Speaker, Honorable Basil should be put into task for wasting honorable members' time by bringing pettiness, opaque, null and void things before this hot air, before this hallowed house. And where are women, Madam Speaker? What is wrong with him? She's smart. Look at Catherine. He's asking, she's out of order. Maybe he wanted to be felt by his constituents that is in parliament. He has been missing for the last 5 months. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Okay, honorable members, let us proceed. Honorable members, let us proceed. Honorable Beatrice Elachi, you are contributing to this.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Madam Speaker.
Order, honorable members, let us proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And just to tell Basil, you know, you never tell a woman that she has not dressed well, unless you have admired something. Having said that, Madam Speaker, allow me to just go and support the Equalization Fund in terms of administration. But to say that, I'm also very sad that ever since I was a nominated senator, we have spoken about Equalization Fund, how we can administer, how we can deal with it, how we can support our people, because, Madam Speaker, when we had this in the Constitution, it was meant to ensure the areas that are marginalized have been able to be supported, especially by national government, so that the projects that were there and the projects that are needed, water and sanitation, health, the key projects that we knew, road infrastructure, that they are supported. But to date, every term of each parliament that we've been in since 2013, Madam Speaker, we have come back to relook at the Equalization Fund. But I am hoping now this will be the last and we shall be able now to administer and to ensure. But the good thing is that now we broaden, because there are many areas that are marginalized, Madam Speaker. It's not that just the areas and the countries we thought so. But what government should do is to look at every project, especially projects that cut across a whole county and another. For example, the health facilities that we are looking at, that we can be able to see government now supporting and ensuring that these projects are done. Remember, Madam Speaker, we had projects that were even done by CDF, and they were left when now we moved into devolution. And they've just been hanging, and we've spent public resources on this. So I think it is important, even as we talk about it, Madam Speaker. And when I look at the Senate bill, the proposals they are bringing in, number one is to provide now a framework of administration and management. And the other is provide for completion of projects under policies developed by the Commission on Revenue Allocation under Article 216. That means that this board that they are also proposing is a board that should come in and look at the different projects. But I'm hoping the advisory board can go beyond, not just looking, but looking across the country, where we've had projects that have used public resources, and especially that were projects of national government and were 80 to 90% in completion, should be completed so that people are able to use. So, Madam Speaker, even as, again, the Senate proposes there is an officer of administering the fund, which shall open a separate account at the central bank. I think that is where now, again, if we are not careful, you find yourself with challenges. For me, if I am asked, if you identify a project without bringing in a pending bill, the same way you run your NGAF, Madam Speaker, the same way we run NCGDF, put in a committee in that area, let them have a way of running and ensuring that the money that has gone directly for that project. But if we put again money in an account, and then in this account we are saying, operate and maintain the books account, yes, consult again with the cabinet secretary, then that project will not move, Madam Speaker. We just need to have a committee in the area the project is in, ensure the money goes. Who is the mandatory signature? That is where now they have to rethink through the whole process and ensure the person who is a mandatory signature is a person who will ensure monies go directly for completion of each project that has been identified under this equalization fund. So, Madam Speaker, there are many things that we'll have to look at. But the question then we should ask ourselves is that after all this, shall we be able now to see the equalization fund going to these counties? And are we able to just see that in a few years to come, we shall be able to identify and say project X, Y was funded with the equalization fund, it is in completion, it is a model that you can see, and how is it now going to benefit the beneficiaries who are within those counties? So, Madam Speaker, the other thing we need to ask ourselves, even in that equalization fund, where we have electricity, is whether, for example, the last miles we are doing, since they are going through constituencies, do they really arrive into the counties and ensure that some of these projects are also being done in either way? But the report that comes in the House should now tell us, within this, the last mile was done, and the constituencies in an area that we identified that qualified for an equalization fund are now with electricity through this process. Then it is important in that report to show the counties we identified have also benefited. And so that issue of electricity is taken off from the checklist, and now we concentrate now on water and sanitation, concentrate on roads. Even roads, if you identify in those counties we say are in need of equalization fund, then the purpose of having trunk roads that cut across either the counties or the constituencies, again, when we have finished and we have now ensured it's in completion, why can't we have a report coming into this parliament telling us, based on the areas we ensured that they are under the equalization fund, we have now qualified and we have ensured they have roads, they have electricity, so that even when we come to the completion that was put in the Constitution, Madam Speaker, we are able to say, under this, the counties that were marginalized, they have improved on this, and the livelihoods of their people have also improved. Madam Speaker, when you look at one thing that we need to ask also, what the Senate says, functions of the county, the technical committee. So the county technical committee shall be responsible for approving projects to be financed, which is very critical. But then they say not more than 2 public officers designated by the county executive committee member with technical expertise in the areas of the prioritized projects. And then they come and say not more than 2 public officers appointed by the cabinet secretary with technical expertise in the areas of the prioritized projects. So how I wish we had 2 from the county and 1 from the cabinet secretary, so that there is no duplication of this and this. At the county, yes, we need more. At the cabinet secretary, if he appoints 1, it will work better. And then they come and they say the chairpersons of the project identification and implementation committees with the sub-county and the secretary of the constituency development fund. It's a good technical committee, but then I will be wondering, the secretary of the constituency development fund. So each of them, and for this committee, because it has quite a huge number, to work properly, there is need of their roles to be really, in the regulations, maybe, Madam Speaker, their roles to be clear, so that they don't find themselves back and forth, and a lot of politics being played around in the same projects. We also have the board shall in every eligible county establish a project identification and implementation committee comprising of the assistant sub-county commissioner, who shall be the chairperson, the village administrators of the areas defined by the commission as marginalized, representative of women, youth, and persons with disability. So you find that the Equalization Fund has so many committees for it even to just deliver what is needed. So sometimes when you have such committees, just having that agreements to move is what will now again hinder the implementation of this. So Madam Speaker, while I support, I think there is need also to just look at it and ask ourselves whether we really want this fund to function. With those few remarks, Madam Speaker, I beg to support.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity to be able to contribute to this Equalization Fund and Administration Bill, Senate Bill number 14 of 2023. I want to say that this bill was passed by Senate about a year and a half ago, precisely 16 months ago, and it was awaiting for this House to be able to be debated and considered so that it can be enacted and passed into law. This fund was established by Article 204 of Constitution in 2010 and provided 1.5 of the audited national government fund as the fund to be used for the equalization purposes. This fund is a fund that was an equalizer, as the name is written, equalization. And this was supposed to address the areas that were marginalized by historical, let's say, injustice that were there before and they were not being considered and therefore they were marginalized. Some areas did not have even hospitals. Some areas did not have even little facilities like health centers. But this was an equalizer that water can be available and the roads can be available to those areas. And so the purpose was very good purpose because for the country to be able to be governed equally so that everybody feels that I belong to this country. When I was growing up, or sometimes back, I used to hear that some people used to say, when you go to Kenya, greet them. Meaning, they did not see any development that was being done as the other parts of the country. So they were saying, when you reach Kenya, just greet them and they say we are still around. I don't want to mention the areas, but we used to hear that in our area. So those are the areas that needed to be developed so that they can catch up with the others. And I'm sure we have seen a lot of developments in some of the marginalized areas, and the things have turned to be better because of this fund. The only undoing of this fund is the exchequer's delays